Hey everyone, welcome back to Bros and Shows. I'm your host Josiah, aka Mauler67, and with me, as always, I got my buddy, I got my pal, I got my brother Austin. Austin, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty okay.
Pretty okay.
Okay,
Why just okay?
I just got some stuff going on with my apartment right now, like that I'm living in. We can't run water that much because there's flooding in the basement.
Ooh,
So yeah,
wow. What is up
yeah,
with everything going on? Because we had the same issue. I think I mentioned it before.
yeah. You have.
With the basement, like it was backing up, and so we let the landlord know. He had people come over. They tried snaking it for nearly a week, and then they're like, we think a pipe's crushed, and so they tore up the whole basement, and they're like, yep, pipe's crushed. It's because they're old cast iron, and one of them got a leak, and it just rusted away. And cast iron, once it gets wet, like it's bad, and so they had to dig all that stuff out and repair it. But then they're also like cleaning up the basement as well, so it's looking actually pretty nice down there. But I'm waiting on them to say, hey, you're good to use the washer and dryer again, because I need to do my laundry. But I don't know. Do you have? No, you don't have a washer and dryer downstairs. But because you can't use water, you can't.
Well, here in Ohio, I don't know how laws are in Pittsburgh, but like after 24 hours, if I cannot have running water or water at all, I can provoke renters' rights, which pretty much means like it's not livable here. Like I can't run water or anything. So like my landlord would have to pay for me to go stay in a hotel or like find a subsidiable place to live while they fix it.
Okay.
So like I gotta figure that out. Hopefully it doesn't turn to that. Maybe it's just a pipe that they can fix. Hopefully that's the thing, because we are moving here soon, like in the next month.
Oh, then no, dude, initiate that right. Like if you're moving, like the only reason why I wouldn't want to do something like that is because I wouldn't want the like fallout with the landlord being like, hey, being a piece of trash to us, like this. And it's like, look,
oh no, you're
the landlord. I throw like 5 times the amount of money I make a month at you in order to stay here. You like, and I've been living here for over 2 years, nonstop, giving you like 1,500 the whole time, and you're telling me you can't spend the 300 to house me for a night? Like, come on.
Yeah. So like, I'm kind of like, I'm being nice though, because like I still have to stay here for a month before the apartment is available. So like I want, but the thing is like if it happens, I gotta do what I gotta do.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't be.
But there's some good news though. Found out my car got totaled.
Great news! So congratulations.
They wrote a check, paid off my remaining debt on that car. And I picked up a Honda CRV for my wife because she really wanted one.
Honda
CRV.
Yeah,
it's like a small SUV type deal thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so it worked out. Like we got it yesterday, and they're coming to tow the other car tomorrow and stuff like that. So we're kind of ready to roll.
Okay. So no, that's good to hear, Austin. I'm glad. I'm glad that you didn't have any further issues with that, and you got that taken care of, because I know that was something that was stressing you out with all the
it's between it's between a baby, my college. Like they didn't find a teacher for the one of the classes that I was doing, so they
should pay them more.
Yeah, they should, and they credited me the credit, but an elective credit instead of a credit of biology. So I have to take biology again, but I'm going to take it at my new school that I'm transferring to next semester. So I don't have to stay at that school anymore. Like I can transfer finally. But still, just a pain in the head. I was ready for, I was doing good in the class, and then all of a sudden the teacher quit, and they were like, we can't find another teacher to replace, and policy is this. And I was like, this sucks. So
the fact that you went to the fact that it's like, oh yeah, we'll give you a credit, here's a general credit. My brain, when you said that, I actually thought you meant like, hey, they gave me credits and I got one free class next year.
Yeah.
So that's cool, I guess, except I don't want to be in the school anymore. But
yeah.
no, I guess that's not how that works.
Yep.
That's perfectly good. That's
Yeah.
solid and regonomical, as they say.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, Austin, this week we continued in the pursuit of happiness and trying to understand man's best friend, and that is Wilfred. Season 3. This is the second to last season.
Yeah.
Fourth season is the last season.
Yes, it is.
And we watched it this week.
Yeah.
Austin, I gotta know, were you watching this as it was coming out, or did you watch it post-mortem of it finishing?
So the first 2 seasons, I watched it after the first 2 seasons were out.
Okay.
I binge watched it, and then this was the season where I started watching it every week on FX. It was on, well, Hulu at that time. Hulu wasn't owned by Disney. It was owned by like Hulu, its own company. So like you would have to wait a day after to watch it. So, you know, it would be on FX, and then next day it would be on Hulu. Which they still kind of do that sometimes, like What We Do in the Shadows. Well, no, What We Do in the Shadows is right when it airs. It used to be that way. They do that with some shows, like I know that Next Level Chef show that Gordon Ramsay just started. They do that with that because it's owned by Fox. So they usually have next day episodes with that. But yeah, it was entertaining. But what's really weird is no one was really watching this show that I really knew except for 2 people. And those 2 people don't really post on social media, so I didn't have to worry about spoilers or anything during this season. And it was really easy not to be spoiled because I stayed off pretty much the internet that time because I was working all the time. And, you know, I really wasn't into Reddit as much as I was. Like, you know, I started a Reddit account like in 2015 finally. So it's like one of my favorite like social media accounts because I can like what I love about Reddit, like you're going off on tangent. What I love about Reddit is like, you know, you have the sub communities, so like you can like just find things that you enjoy and love, and those people respect the group a lot. So I don't most of them.
Most of the time, whenever like a fandom is created in Reddit, they acknowledge like, hey, you can't do X, Y, and Z. If you want to do X, Y, and Z, you have to join a different community, and then a community will be made about a community of a community.
Yeah.
So like, you know, Final Fantasy 14 is a community I follow on Reddit. Like I'm constantly looking at it all the time. And then they have Final Fantasy 14 trash posts, which is a sub of the 14 community, because the 14 community has like, hey, don't trash post here. And then that was created, and basically half the population of 14 also is on that, and it's just a bunch of gaslighting kids.
Yeah.
Like, 14 sucks.
But yeah, so I was watching it when it was coming out at this time, season 3. So I was watching it, you know, pretty well done. But after watching it a second time, though, I've noticed a lot of different things that I never noticed before from this season compared to the other 2 seasons.
Okay.
And one of those is, I think at this time, FX kind of knew that Wilfred was going to come to an end.
Okay.
Because they stopped showing certain characters to probably cut back on money. Because there's like a time in the season where Jenna and Drew go like somewhere for a while, and they don't come back for like a couple episodes actually. Same way with his roommate, which Kristen Shaw.
The second she walked like opened the door, I was like, oh, it's Kristen Shaw. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, she was just coming off the hype of I think Last Man on Earth. So like she needed to fill that spot, or she was doing part-time work while that show was still going on.
She does that a lot. Like she has like her main shows that she's always on, but a lot of her work is like guest work of like, oh, I'm on 1 or 2 episodes, or I'm in this one season, which is basically what she is in this. In this season of Wilfred is just I'm just here for the 1 season and I'm done. Yeah. And even then I'm just, you know, probably punched out all of her scenes in a single day of takes, you know, kept
Yeah.
changing around costumes and everything of that sort.
Yeah. So yeah, like you can see that they kind of cut the budget on this show.
I didn't really notice that too much.
Yeah.
I think like for me, the biggest notice is that I definitely got the feel that they were dropping out Jenna and her husband, as well as like a handful of other
we didn't
people.
see the neighbor Patel for a while.
Yeah.
I think he showed up. Yeah, he came in. That was the only scene that I remember him in.
Yeah.
This season,
which is fine, you know, because the one thing I'll say about this show is that it's definitely a 2-person show. It's just Elijah Wood and the guy who plays. That's all they really need. In fact, I was thinking at like midpoint of this season, I'm like, at what point is Jenna just going to admit that freaking Wilfred lives over there, and like ask Ryan if he wants to adopt and become Wilfred's full-time owner? Because obviously he spends more time with her, and granted, we see it from Ryan's perspective. So how much he spends with Wilfred, it horrifically seemed like Jenna does not care for Wilfred, even though she owns him, and it's more of like, because I own him, I have to like do all this stuff, but it's always Ryan doing it.
Yeah, and I think that a biggest thing is, I always talk about this as a dog owner, is don't buy a dog for a Christmas present, or someone that's not going to take
don't
care
buy
of the dog.
an animal in general.
Yeah. So like, I just always say that because people don't take care of that stuff, and then they rely on other people to take care of that animal.
The biggest thing, like I explained, I'm like, if someone wants an animal for Christmas, first off, don't get it for them. Second off, what you should do is be straightforward with the person. Be like, I know you said you want an animal, to get an animal for Christmas, or like that be your Christmas present, and then you take them to a shelter to like spend time with dogs and find the right dog and like set it all up, like do all the normal stuff that people would do throughout multiple points in their time for such. But yeah, and then you'll be able to decide on if you actually want like the animal, because too often people will be like, oh, I want an animal, and then they'll just like someone will get them like a puppy or something like that. And it's like, that's the worst thing, because you're going to treat that puppy probably inefficiently than what it needs. You're not going to train it correctly because you yourself don't know like how to have a puppy or whatnot, and then that dog's going to have issues its whole life because you did not do X, Y, or Z. And then if in the worst case scenario is you don't fit well with the dog, and you're like, well, give it to the shelter. Happens. And I'm not a fan of it.
So this season of Wilfred, what did you think?
It's trash. No, I'm kidding.
I was waiting for it. You're like, this is awful. I hate this season.
Yeah, well, how do I say this in a nice way? It was a good season. I think it was a solid season. Is it my favorite season? I don't know. This has been a lot of the issue with this series. Is the amount of manipulation that is done in the show by Wilfred. Makes me stressed most of the time when I'm watching the show. Like, there are things that make me chuckle or make me laugh, but most of the chuckling and laughing is just more of like the absurdity of something, or the character coming off correctly like a dog. But Wilfred is very one-track minded, and he is very, very manipulative of Ryan. And I was hoping that would tune down, but it hasn't tuned down. All that has happened is Ryan has become more self-aware that he is a controlling person. He's very mind controlled. And that's the issue that I have with Wilfred to that foremost degree. And because it's a show about Wilfred, they'll give him the upper leg in all the exchange.
Oh yeah.
The only episode that I actually like genuinely was like, I actually like that episode, like from the get-go, like was the episode with the Bruce guy. This episode.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna pick that one.
Where Ryan gets one up over both of them.
Yeah.
And it was like it's all like, hey, I got this up on you, and neither of them was just like, oh, surprise twist, you didn't. Though, you know what oddly made me think of?
What was that?
Community. The Community episode where Joe, the dean, Joel McCow, the dean, and
are you talking about the
drama teacher where they all at the end just start shooting each other with fake guns, like, and they're all like, ah! And then the police officer comes in and shoots the dude, and they're like, oh my gosh, it was a fake gun. And he's like, yeah, now you know guns aren't toys. Like, that's what I was thinking of by the end, where they're all like, God, you crossed me. It's like, well, you crossed me. Well, once I found out that you were going to cross him, I couldn't help but resist myself to double cross you as well. And
yeah, I
enjoyed that. I thought it was funny. I will say it is unfortunate that the show... I'll say it's unfortunate how the show twisted at the end of the season. Last couple episodes. I wasn't a fan of that, and I was like, I feel a little about it. Other than that, I feel like the show is the season was pretty solid. I enjoyed it, but I definitely don't like. I'm gonna say this now. Like I thought I would give it a couple, whatnot. Depending on how they stick the ending in season 4, I could see this being a show and me being like, yeah, I watched. Yeah, there's some enjoyable episodes. I don't think I want to rewatch it, and that's okay. And
I don't blame you for that. Yeah.
Here's the thing, right? I think Elijah Wood is fantastic in this series,
and
the guy who plays Wilfred, he plays the character very, very well, and I will give that to him. But the dynamic of Wilfred makes me not want to watch multiple episodes of it. Yeah. But it is definitely something. If I cannot find something on TV and it shows up, I will watch it. Because I'm familiar with it. I'll be like, oh, okay. There will be certain episodes where I'm like, nope, I'm not going to watch this episode. Nope.
Yeah, there's always a couple episodes that I'm not a huge fan of in this season, actually. The number 2 and 3. 2's my favorite season. 3 was okay. 4, I enjoyed 4 a lot. Just because of like how they stick the ending to me. I really enjoyed it. So like I hope... And I have a lot more to talk about probably next week, because there's a lot of things that like I can talk about how I experienced it compared to you binging it. There's a difference in something, and I'm really excited to talk about that. But this season though was more of like Ryan confronting his dad. Was more of this season, and I was like. Was it last week you were talking about how you think like Bruce might be Ryan's dad, and I was like, oh man, he's totally wrong. His dad is a real person, and we're going to meet this guy. And even when you think he's trying to help, he's trying to help in the way he thinks is going to be the way to help his son, but it comes out manipulative. You know
what's funny? And this was something that I actually it was an episode where I was super frustrated with Will, because I feel like a lot of the issues in the show that get presented is not Ryan, it is Wilfred all the time. And it just gets me frustrated, because if they're trying to like direct this idea that Wilfred is a like kind of like a conscience or like a moral thought process for Ryan to follow, you can't have the moral conscience be the cause of the issues, because it destroys the reason behind it. Like the whole thing wherever which one was it Distance? I forget what episode it was, where no, it wasn't that. It was the Christmas episode where Wilfred
confrontation.
Is it confrontation? Okay. Where Wilfred wanted to be part of the family thing. And he puts that picture in there, and the whole episode he's just talking about how his dad's manipulating. And then everything comes to boil into head because that picture gets put there. And Wilfred's like, your dad's super manipulative. He's the one who has been poking at your mom all night. And okay, hi Molly. I was like watching that and I'm like, I disagree, right? The thing about Ryan's mom is not the fact that like the dad was poking at her. Like, he was, for sure, but she was too. Oh, yeah. There was like the second she walked in, she started to like down talk him. Yeah. And in the same way, like he also did too. Like the whole part where he apologized to the guy about it, I can understand a person being in that like social awkward situation where the person is clearly lying about the relationship with the person and he apologizes, not out of being like a jerk, but legitimately just being like, I'm sorry you had to deal with that. And then from that point on, it went downhill. And so I'm like, Wilfred, you're being manipulative. Now, if it was revealed in that later episode that his dad, like Wilfred knew that the cameras were in the house, he like smelled them or whatever, and he found them. Yeah. Then that plays a little different. Like he had the foreknowledge of being like, Dad is manipulating you. And this, but I didn't want to make that happen, blah, 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 all that good stuff. And it happened. That's whatever. And it was Wilfred causing the issue and then proclaiming to be the solution as well, saying like, see, you had to let it be confronted first before you were able to heal. And it's like, everything was going great until you did that stunt. Like, even if we weren't like reconciling the way you would want us to, we were still building and healing, and as we build and healed over those years, we would reconcile more efficient instead of us all yelling at each other like madmen and kicking each other out. Like that's probably my biggest issue with Wilfred as the TV series. That is a consistent thing where it's Wilfred causing the issue and then him proclaiming that because the issue is solved, he's like, see, you should have listened to me from the get-go. It's like, hey man, back off. This wouldn't be an issue if it wasn't for you. You know? Yeah. So that is like my biggest gripe with.
The other thing, since Mama Burkhart is watching, I want to know if she actually got a actor that she actually used to like a show called Seventh Heaven. And I don't know if you remember it when she used to watch it.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So Kristen's love interest in the episode where she that's the guy from Seventh Heaven. I think it was like the teenage boy or whatever.
It was I think it was Jessica Biel's boyfriend in the series.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So yeah, it was interesting to see that.
I saw him and I was like, was he also in Boy Meets World? Like, I know I've seen him in multiple things.
He looks the same, but it's not. He was never in Boy Meets World. Unless he was like on an episode or two.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
I don't know. I'm really bad when it comes to like 90s teen shows, like Boy Meets World, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, like shows like that. Yeah. Because I was like cognitive for it, like I could remember the show, could not tell you who they were. Like only the key people I could say. Like, okay, I know who Sabrina was.
Yeah, he was the older boy. Yeah, that's right. He was the older boy.
Oh, he was. He was the oldest son.
Yeah, he was the oldest son.
Oh, I thought he was the. Oh, you know what? I think I was getting that and the one Reba show or whatever mixed up. Oh yeah. Where the one girl had the husband, and he lived with them for some reason.
Oh yeah, Kevin. Oh shoot, what's his name?
He was in
Shameless.
Restless or Shameless. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
I remember seeing him in that show and being like, he was the only thing I liked about Reba. No offense, Mom. I know you're watching this. He was the only character I liked about Reba because he actually made me laugh.
That was actually one show I thought about doing sometime, but
Oh
there
yeah,
is 10 seasons of that
that's the
show,
issue.
and they're hour an episode. So I was like,
Uh-huh.
I'm not putting Josiah through that torture.
No, no.
In that
I've
show,
basically watched all the seasons, Austin, because
oh
back
really?
whenever I was in college and I would come back home, we
Oh,
didn't have
yeah.
cable or anything. Whenever they lived in the old Jetaway house, and Mom had all those DVDs of Reba, and she would just have them on repeat, and I would just lay on the couch
Oh, you're
watching
talking
it
about
with
Reba.
her. Yeah, what'd you think I was talking about?
I was talking about doing Shameless.
Oh yeah, no, I've never seen
But,
Shameless. No, I'm
yeah,
good. That's
Shameless is
too
like
too
10
close to the
episodes.
edge of like Wilfred is like the perfect mid ground of it. That's too
Yeah.
close to the idea of like these people are kind of pieces of trash where they're like falling apart because of
Yeah.
issues, and people are doing trash things, and you're like, why are you doing this? You care for this person.
Well, why everyone really likes that show and why I like that show is it comes to the reality of like when you get older, you
Uh-huh.
feel like you need to take care of your parents.
Okay.
And even though those parents are awful and terrible and have led you to live your life a certain way, they can't get out of that hump. So like
Mhm.
that's why I like that show. But that show's really dark, and it sometimes like is really it
That
can be a little edgy.
that was the big thing. I remember our friend Paris from
Yeah, and
my
Darius.
roommate Paris,
Yeah.
back whenever that was, and our friend, he watched Shameless and he was big into it. And I remember watching like episode with him, just being like, "Can't do it." The dad is
Yeah, it's
kind
rough.
of like ruining the kid's life.
I think William H. Macy does great in that show. He's a great actor, but that show is a downer. Like it's a downer show. So like I don't like really too much of a downer. Now like Wilfred on the other hand is meant to be a dark comedy. But it is a downer though, but it's not as bad as Shameless is. Shameless
I don't
is a
consider
comedy.
Wilfred a downer. Like
Yeah.
anytime they deal with more darker or depressing topics, it's normally done in a way that it's like it's not that dark, you know? Like
Well,
the
that
whole conversation about him like unaliving himself throughout the series has always been very like for Paul, or like, oh, not
yeah.
mention it too much and just say it, or like, hey, this ain't good
Well,
that you ever thought about this.
that and there's redeeming characters in this show. Like Ryan is a redeeming character. You know, a couple other people in
I
the
think
show
he's the
are
only
redeeming
redeeming
characters.
character. I'll be honest, like, and that's no offense to everyone else in the show. It's legitly because it's a 2-person show.
Oh
It's
yeah.
Wilfred and Ryan, and Wilfred
Mhm.
hasn't done jack to redeem himself,
No.
and Ryan is learning and growing, but not because of Wilfred. And I will say this every time: Wilfred causes issues. He can't be the solution to the issue.
Mm. Yeah.
Anyways,
So
awesome. Yeah.
it's an interesting show.
Mhm.
Is there any episode that stands out to you that you thoroughly enjoyed at all?
This season
Um,
specifically.
Yeah, this season specifically. Yeah. Now, when you're going through that, I'm going to talk about this is like how my viewership was. So since I was watching it every week, they never tell you if it's going to be a final season of anything unless like that it's going to happen. So if you think that they might be canceling it, they might try to end the show. So at the time, I didn't know that those shows always had like, was it like 13 or 12 episodes? So I was like, oh, so the part where he goes like to the therapist,
Yeah.
and then he's like, I'm an alien. I thought he was an alien. Like in season 2, I was like, he's another being from another planet that comes down every year and like deals with someone that needs help. And then like at the end of the episode, he's like, wait a minute, it's you. And he's like, but I'm a figment of your imagination, right? Like you were the person that like put that in your head, not me. But I like that episode. I remember watching that episode and being in tears because the scene where he goes back to the office and then he has to leave the office, leaves the office, and then he looks in the glass and his dad looks at the picture and like cries. And he's like, my dad's never cried. It was like, like some things like pull at my heartstrings a little bit. And that was one of them. Like making a decision like that to commit someone that you love to a mental home would crush me. That is a very hard decision. and like seeing the impact that he still loved her, I saw that. But you know, he was still a piece of trash. Like his dad was a
Well,
complete piece of trash.
I will actually say this. I don't think his dad was a piece of trash from the
Really?
perspective. The whole idea that he was manipulating Ryan,
Mhm.
I think, and I think what we're going to find out in second season or whatever, is that there is more to what Ryan's dealing with Wilfred and who Wilfred is than anyone else in the family knows except for the dad. Like the dad knows the truth. And I think it's because here's my reason, right? He cried when he had to commit the mom. We don't know the whole context of him committing his. There's never any conversation about it. For all we know, the reason why he committed his mom is because his mom started doing things to the kids that the dad was like, it's not good, and he thinks that he has to be the strong parental figure, and that's why he takes him back to work. And obviously he's having a mental break at work that he doesn't want to admit, and that's why he gets his sister to take him out of the room after he yells at the tent, because he's legitimately breaking down too. Like that was not okay for him to do. And then maybe because he starts seeing that Ryan has the same issue as the mom, he starts freaking out and trying to like, not really, to a degree, to like people who are only seeing it for hit as like, oh, he is controlling Ryan. Maybe he's trying to do that to stop him from getting the same thing that his mom has.
Yeah.
And that's basically like what's going on there. Now the whole ending in this season with like the statue of Wilfred randomly in the thing, I'm like, okay, if they reveal that Ryan is actually like a satanic deity or like God himself or something like that, Ryan or his mom like accidentally unleashed in the world and is thus like this plague to them, and like the dad knows, and that's why he does everything in his power to remove them from society if they get infected by him. Like that's going to be a thing. You can't predict that if you wanted to in all your wildest dreams, right? When we were talking about the first couple episodes, you're like, what do you think it is or whatever? The idea of like some mythological being was well off the cuff, and we weren't going to do it. And as I mentioned before in multiple episodes, again, to try and put reasoning to everything is fool's work. You're just wasting time, because anything could be explained or anything can be explained away in this series, because logic means nothing.
So in reality, I wish I would have took your stance on this. I think my viewing would have been a little bit better, because this show stressed me out. You know how Wilfred acts towards it. It's exactly what you're having. You're having anxiety when like Wilfred does things. You're like, stop. Why do you got to do this? And you're like, everything was fine. Why did you make it worse? Oh, to teach him this? This is stupid. But I wish I was that way, because it drained me, because I was trying to figure out who Wilfred was, why he's with Ryan, why can Ryan only see him, and stuff like that.
And I don't think that's true. I don't think he's the only one who sees him.
Well, Bruce sees him. So
yeah, but Bruce is a snake, a literal snake. He's just a cobra. We're going to find out that Ryan can talk to animals, and he's Dr. Doolittle. Boom, end of season.
So something actually next season actually happens. There's a tone change with Bruce, and I'll explain next season why it's that way. Because it's just something that needs to be explained, because you're going to be like, what the heck is going on here? And a lot of people didn't know until like after the season. They're like, oh, we had to explain why this happened. But that'll be one of the questions we'll ask next week. But there is a tone change this season. I think I will say this, I think after next week, I think you're going to really, you might really hate the show, or you might really like the show.
So where I'm currently at, and I was thinking about this a lot today, right? Because watching this to me is like the cusp of Game of Thrones season 8, right? Where it's like, okay, they have a single season to wrap this all up.
Yeah.
They have to move all these pieces in the right way, and they have to make sure that it lands satisfying.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones failed miserably, because we realized whenever all the pieces fell into place, like, oh, that should have been a thing that started season 4, not started season 8 and ended season 8. That should have been a thing that has been working towards from the very get-go. In this show, I think they've had plans for what they're doing for a while, especially for the fact that like in the middle of this season they see that icon, and it's like, you don't make a random icon like that and put it in a season, or like the was it the mystery box system or theory that what's his face does. Like, you don't put all these questions, put it in a box and set there and be like, what's in the box? Like, what is the box? And then you just start making stories and just randomly throw things. The box is this, the box is this. And at the end, you just decide which one you want.
Yeah.
Like, I think that they've probably been playing a little more. And unfortunately, this is going to be a thing that I think will points against it. In my head. Again, this is all my personal thought process. When you have a show that throws so much stuff at the wall, even when they reveal something to be true and they're like, oh, there's been hints the whole time at it, like, no, you don't get to say that. You know, you don't get to say that it's always been in the background, like you always should have known, because every 5 seconds freaking Wilfred's throwing something at you that you could take as him being true for being a lie. And as much as you could say like it's always been in the foreground or whatnot, it's like, yeah, so each of these other ones, if the series ends with a Clue level ending, I think that's probably would be the highest like regard for me, where the last episode, right, is like 8 possible endings and you just select which one you like the most. Kind of like, I don't know, have you ever you've seen Clue the movie, right?
Oh yeah, where there's like, was it 10 or 8 different
one
endings?
for every single character plus the butler. Right. And anytime they showed the movie on like TV or whatever, they would randomly select one of them to go, and so it was different each one. But the issue with that, right, is that all of them are plausible, so you could watch the whole movie and never be able to guess which one's right because they threw too much stuff at the wall. And it made it unsatisfying at the end to be able to figure out what was happening because everything was thrown out the wall. So, I don't know. That's why I very quickly said, screw it, I'm not going to even guess what Wilfred is, because Wilfred's unreliable and the world in reality is unreliable.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are not, reality driven. Like, it doesn't base itself in reality because you just like, that doesn't make sense. How did he do that? Like him picking up the ladle to drink the eggnog. I'm like, how did he do that? Or how did
there's
he
so
try
many things, right? It was like, oh, he put the shock collar on him. Well, how did he put the shock collar on? Oh, what? Even his dad points out that, there's a point where he had a shock collar on him. And I was like, what'd you see whenever Wilfred was zapping me? What do you see? Do you see him holding the remote, or do you see this dog walking around with the remote in his hand or in his mouth? Makes no sense. Or whenever like Ryan hits his head and he knocks off the phone to like call 911, it's like, bro, 3 episodes ago you were on your own phone. That's how he got a hold of Bruce, is he looked through your cell phone. Like, you can't have this level of inconsistency in the show to make it a mystery of like, who's this person is. It means nothing. There's no rhyme or reason, and you can't follow it. So don't try guessing. Just enjoy the ride.
Yep, that's exactly what you should do.
That's all you can do. Like, shows like Gravity Falls, right? They also did that to a degree too, where they threw a lot of things against the wall. But the one thing that they did was anytime they threw something at the wall, they also discontinued something at the same time. So it didn't feel like it was just a buildup of lies and deceit. Like, I know there was the whole point about like people thinking that McDuckett was the author, because he always had a patch over his hand, and the writers like intended, like in the beginning, they're like, yeah, we intended for him to be a prime suspect because of that bandage. We did that on purpose. Did we decide he was the author at a point or whatever? We decided that earlier, but we still wanted to have this breadcrumb to like throw people off. And it's like, that's fine, but don't make the person who's telling you what can and can't be a thing unreliable as freaking Wilfred.
And I think that's why the show works. I think that's why this show works towards the last season, is because they want you to have theories, but they don't want you to solve what they're trying to say because they have an unreliable character give you information, and you have to come up with, is this reliable information or is this Wilfred's crap? And that's why I think it works that way when the resolution happened, because next week we will be finished with Wilfred, and we'll move on to the next greatest show. But I will say this, my favorite episode this season, actually, like one of the ones that I really thoroughly enjoyed, was actually when Ryan befriends the mailman.
The second episode, I think it was.
Yeah, I love that episode so much.
That was a good episode. I actually liked it. I will say I totally thought what was going to get revealed is that Ryan was actually bisexual. And yeah, because like
I never thought that.
You didn't think that?
Yeah.
Well, because I thought that whenever they were sitting at the bar together and they were like drinking and they started reading that note. It mentions like the dude's member or something like that. And then they both looked at each other like, oh, this is awkward now. And then they started laughing. I thought it was going to either be revealed that Ryan was bisexual or the mailman was, and he was going to have a misunderstanding of Ryan, because in the beginning of the episode he invites Ryan out to the bar, and I'm like, you just ask him on a date, and it's going to be a situation kind of like Abed in Community, where he doesn't catch that this guy is into him. And then he's going to like overcorrect himself, and it's going to be like awkward.
That episode was also part of a bar.
That episode was part of the bar too. And then I was really expecting when Wilfred's like, I don't like him, blah blah blah, he's gonna snap. I'm like, is he saying he's gonna go postal? Like, is this episode gonna end with the dude going like insane and like murder people? Is the idea of him being a mailman supposed to be like literal like that? Like, that seems a little head on. And luckily enough, they didn't go there, and they're all a bunch of like people just dealing with a loss, and they had to like reconcile with it. And I'm like, I just want to point out here, Wilfred was against this person. Of legit and solid emotional like connections. Like, they had issues. He was obviously trying to fight it, and in the end, like, him and his friends tore down the walls, and they were able to talk and like grieve with each other. And it's like, Wilfred was very anti this guy. I wonder why. It's almost like Wilfred does not have the best intentions for Ryan and only cares about himself.
That's pretty much it. Like, I really like this episode because of the whole Wilfred becomes like a born-again Christian.
That episode.
That's the same episode.
It's the same episode. I forgot because the dude has the Slayer icon.
And then at the end you come to find out that Wilfred is just terrified of everything.
Fireworks,
and then
specifically.
Fireworks. And then I loved there's an episode of the season that I burst out laughing at one of the bits. And that is the Santa episode, like the Christmas episode, because Wilfred is like straight up, like, he's like, so why do you want to meet Santa? And he's like, I want to give him my list. And then you come to find out that he hates Santa. He's like, it's the mailman on steroids.
Because he's like, he busts in your house, he brings on stuff, he leaves his scent everywhere. And then when Santa shows up, he just like don't completely whips. Yep. Just there's a situation again where Wilfred being there, I was like, he just ruins the day, I was, whenever they said that Kristen wrote that picture, right, I was prepared for Ryan to like confront her and then her admit that she sees Wilfred too.
Oh wow.
I
thought that too,
because she lied hardcore about the whole like Snickers thing. She lied 110%, and she actually was like good with it to the point where Ryan even believed her. And so I'm like, maybe that's why she hates Wilfred, is because she sees him and that freaks her out. And she's concerned about it, and I was like, that could make sense. The other thing that I thought about is like, Ryan sees Wilfred, and so does the mom, and the dad finds out about like whatever is wrong with the mom, and that's genetics. And so that's why he's manipulating / trying to control Ryan, is to keep him from becoming crazy like his mom.
Yeah.
And that's why he puts so much attention under Ryan, and he straight up ignores his sister. Because you could see in that Christmas episode that daughter is just looking for like reconciliation with her father. Like, father loved me, father say I'm doing good, and he ain't giving her the light of day, really. He's giving her like the
advice?
Normal amount of stuff, but he is very much like Ryan. Oh no, the mom. Ryan. Oh yeah, you're here too. Like he down talks her for the wine. He doesn't really, like, he accepts it, but like if you really cared for your daughter who went on her way to buy something like that, who cares if it's not a great year? Drink it. Yeah. She got it for you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, man. I don't think the dad's that bad. I think the dad has issue. I don't think he's as bad of a character as they set up. And because they kill him off this season, I'm like, okay, it's going to be one or two things, right? Either he's gone permanently, or he's going to either... Okay, no, there's three things, actually. I just thought about the last one, because this series makes no freaking sense, right? Yeah. He's gone permanently. 2, he comes back as, like, flashbacks or whatever, or ghosts or whatever like that. Or 3, he's not actually dead, and he was in it with Wilfred from the very get-go. And it's some crazy, stupid things that it reveals in the end that it's actually, like, his dad's also crazy, and it's, like, a gift for them. And he's like, oh, we've always seen Wilfred. I'm a master of necromancy, and I keep resurrecting the dog and keeping it live. like I said, like, freaking reality, it could happen. It could be a thing. Would it make sense? And people
like Star Wars, like Jedi flashbacks, where it's like,
yeah, like, well, I'm thinking either flashbacks or like Ryan having like, you know, the peyote trip or whatever that was, that one episode, like that type of deal thing.
Yeah.
Or even the insomnia episode that was in this season.
Oh yeah,
where he was having visions of his dad the whole time. And when I finally saw his dad, my first thought process was, yo, is that Thanos? It's not, but that's what my brain thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
So yeah, this train will come to an end next week when we talk about it on Wednesday of next week at 8:15 p.m.
We do need to talk about the ending, though. We do need to talk about the ending of the season.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about it, and I do.
Okay.
I was disappointed.
Were you?
Yep.
Is there a reason? Like, exactly?
Jenna.
Oh, Jenna?
Yeah, 100% Jenna. Because the final episode where she kisses Ryan, and then Wilfred leaves the flowers, the anonymous notes or whatever, trying to like flesh out whoever has been kissing her, and she instantly is like, Ryan, this is not okay. And she just instantly accuses Ryan of it, and it's like, Ryan agreed with it. Ryan agreed with that you guys should be separated. Why do you think it's him? Furthermore, if you both kissed or whatever, why would he leave an anonymous Valentine's thing? That doesn't make sense at all. Yeah. Other than the fact to hide it from your husband. But if Ryan actually liked you, he would do a thing. And then she instantly jumped to this conclusion or this mindset that, oh, you've only wanted to hang out with Wilfred to get close to me. Girl, you are only spending maybe 10% of your time with Wilfred. At this point, I think Ryan could take her to a court and sue for custody of Wilfred because of how much he takes care of him. He literally has food and everything in his house for Wilfred. She ain't doing jack for Wilfred. And I was very upset, and it hit me the same way of like a divorced couple, and like one of the parents purposely using the kids to like hurt the other one, so you can't see them anymore. And it's like, you guys don't freaking care for the dog. Anytime you go and visit your family, you never take him. You don't care about the dog. Austin, you're over here with your dog, right? Anytime you go and visit someone, like for holidays or whatnot, you guys are automatically like, we gotta bring Ralph. We gotta bring Ralph. And it's only whenever it's like, hey, we can't have animals here, that you're just like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You take it to your step parents all the time because you care for Ralph. You love Ralph. What? Oh, did I say step parents? Sorry.
Father-in-law.
Father-in-law. Yeah.
Step
Sorry,
parents.
step parents, whatever.
Yeah, like I
same
usually find someone that could take, like watch him.
Yeah.
Like most of the time I take Ralph pretty much anywhere.
Yeah.
As long as it's like pet friendly and people are like, yeah, you can bring your dog.
You guys legit litter. And then like I would love to bring Molly. Like I actually want to bring Molly to home, but she also has a lot of issues with going long distances, right?
Yeah.
She's a cat for one. She does not like harnesses. Like she will actively run away from harnesses. And like if you ever set her down and try like forcing it, she does the whole just plays dead essentially. And then like I would also need to have the area that we go and have cat litter, food. Have no idea how she's going to deal with like Ralph and things like that. There's so many things doing it that I have to kind of leave her, and I feel bad. Like I don't want to keep her from my like the family or whatnot. But it's legitimately like it's kind of hard for me to take a cat. If she was a dog, freaking the dog would be coming every second. Like anywhere I go. But cat has a little more of like nesting capability. I mean, I'll try one day for sure, but
well, like I've always thought about, hey, I should bring out Ralph to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Because like, I was like, hey, that'd be cool. He'd get to meet Molly, and Molly could get used to a dog. And I was like, that'd be cool. Or like, I could take him to Seth. Like Seth's already said, you can bring Ralph anytime because this is a dog and cat house. And I was like, cool. But then I realized that will never happen because of one thing, and that is my wife. My wife is so attached to my dog because my dog is like one of her best friends that she wants the dog around. She can't stay in a house by herself without him because she feels protected by him. So when I would take him, she would stay over in Apple Valley and she didn't like it. She's like, I miss my dog way too much. So it's kind of like a coping thing. And my dog, like what I love about dogs, and like they show it in the show, they're very therapeutic. And the thing is like, like in the episode where he goes to like counseling, he was like, bring your dog in and pet him and stuff. That's actually correct. Like my wife has been through like a couple things that are very traumatic to her. And sometimes words can't express like what you're feeling. And sometimes they just need someone to know that they're just there for them. And, sometimes your partner can't do that. Like your partner can, but it's just not something you really want. So a dog really helps with that. And Ralph did that with my wife. And so like she relies on him as much as he relies on her. So it's so hard for like me to like pull that apart just for a weekend because it would just drive her nuts. And I don't want to ruin her like that. It would just make her sad. So like that was like, well, like that's not going to happen now. But, the thing is that's what pets are. Like pets are those people that are supposed to be there for you. And that's what kind of relationship is with Wilfred and Ryan. Is Ryan has became Wilfred's caretaker pretty much. That's exactly what he is. Like
he's literally
does everything for him.
Which is why I was so upset with that ending. Where it's like, you can't, Wilfred, you can see Wilfred on the weekends. And it's like, really, the weekends? Really? Not everything else. You're going to get really... I seriously at one point thought to myself, why didn't she just look at him and say, hey, you take care of Wilfred? You mentioned earlier how you were like, Jenna was increasingly absent from the season. I thought in the middle of the season, she was going to go to Ryan and ask if he wanted to adopt Wilfred because they were going to move back to wherever...
Wisconsin.
Yeah, his family's from. And I'm like, that makes sense. And that can get Ryan out of that stupid, like, oh, Jenna, I love a married woman. And that's very frustrating to me. And I just find it so frustrating that she was the one who jumped him, like, to kiss and all that stuff. And then she's, like, putting all this negative stuff onto him. And I'm like, is it actually him? Or are you upset because you realize that you actually love him and you have locked yourself into this like marriage with what's his face?
Drew, yeah.
Like, that's what I think is really going on, and she's basically realizing, and she's like heartbroken and sad that she realized that she loves Ryan. She lost something that would have been amazing for her because she stayed with the other person. And instead of her saying like, hey, I'm upset, I'm sad, maybe I should call it off with the way, like the divorce, or like get a divorce or something like that, if she's truly unhappy, because obviously she started smoking and all that stuff, like she's doing things that is not great for her, then it's like, don't take it out on the guy. If me and like my neighbor, right, had like a huge falling out, and he literally watched Molly and like lived with Molly 90% of the time, and all I did was come home and go to sleep and Molly slept on me, I would be like, Molly's not my cat. Yeah. If I walk in the room and the cat is like sitting on my neighbor's lap and not wanting to come to me because freaking the cat likes the neighbor because that's who he loves, and it's like, she's not really my cat.
Yeah.
And obviously Ryan needs Wilfred, and the fact that she thinks, oh, I was just so mad when she's like, have you only been watching Wilfred to get close to me? I was like, oh girl, you just said the wrong thing, man. That frustrated me so bad.
Oh no, it did. It frustrated me too, because Ryan got to a point where he's like over her and he's trying to like make his life better, and then she does the kiss thing. And
well, he didn't really get over her. He basically like separated herself from him from her. And it was funny because Ryan, it was a 50-50 thing where it's like, he's like, okay, I need to separate myself from it because it's better for both of us. I mean, I don't think she realized how much she needed Ryan until he started separating himself from her. And then that's whenever she started getting very stressed and angry about certain things, because she lost her friend, her like support. Obviously she does not view her husband as that. And Wilfred just stays with Ryan, doesn't stay with her, and it's frustrating and annoying. I seriously thought at the end of the one security one, whatever that one was, where they kissed, I thought she was going full on seduce Ryan and just admit that she's unhappy with Drew. She's always liked him, and she's like, I feel safe when I'm with you type deal thing. Because when she sits down next to Ryan, she keeps getting closer and closer to him, and Ryan is visibly upset. Like, he's like, no, this is not what I want. It wasn't until she lunged and kissed him that he was willing to do anything, and then she, that season finale, that ending, that I don't know if that's, yeah, no, that's season 12, that's episode 12, that's not technically the season finale.
Yeah.
But that episode made me hate Jenna so easily.
Oh yeah. And so like, I've been on the Jenna hate train ever since season 1. When I first watched this show, I hated her because to me, it was kind of relatable in a way to me, where like I would be the nice guy and I would be the person that's willing to do stuff for a girl that I liked, and I wanted to be with that girl. And I did that through high school a lot, where like I would like someone and then I would do stuff for them, or I would hang out with them and like be friends and like do all that stuff. But then when I finally would admit my feelings, they'd be like, no, I'm good.
Well, the different, okay, here's the thing. First off, I get that.
Yeah.
Just because you're nice to someone, it does not mean that you're entitled to their feelings or love or whatever. Yeah. But the thing that I hate about Jenna is the idea that she essentially has been using Ryan for the last 3 seasons,
and she even admits it. Yeah, she admits it in this season where she's like, I've been manipulating you, and I know that you had a crush on me. Like, you're just like,
the issue is she's not the only one though. Freaking her husband does it too. The only time he talks with Ryan is to get him to do stuff for him. There's never a situation where it's the opposite.
so we're getting on this point of, is it just those two? I think it's everyone in his
Oh,
life.
100%. No,
Yeah.
literally everyone in his life manipulates him. Like his sister manipulated him the whole time. Like even to the point where there was a time where he,
Told her he didn't want to be her husband.
He's like this isn't okay. Like I don't want this.
His mom,
his mom, his dad, like everyone has always been manipulated to him, except for like the off characters, like the characters that are only there for a couple episodes. Like even his roommate technically wasn't manipulating him as much as it was she was being paid because she loved her husband. Like she wasn't doing it because she wanted something from him.
Oh yeah,
she was doing it because she was essentially being paid, which makes sense. Like that was the father's manipulation.
Yeah, and she wanted to get her husband out, her boyfriend out of jail, but you know.
I mean, he got out of jail. Like he just got back into it with heroin. But like when it comes to everyone else in Ryan's life, is that if I'm going to say this now, right? If the last episode is just called Boundaries, I'm going to be frustrated. Because if the whole series was about Wilfred teaching him that you have to learn to set up boundaries and say no to people and not let them walk over you, I'm going to be very frustrated, because it's not it's going to be great because it would make sense for the whole series, right? Every episode is Ryan dealing with people being bad to him and Wilfred being part of the problem, because Wilfred himself is trying to teach him you have to set up boundaries, and I'm going to show you how bad your life will get if you don't set up boundaries. It's like, bro, his life was already bad. He tried to commit suicide in the first episode. Like, he understands that. Take him to therapy. Don't make him learn boundaries some other dumb way. I don't know. It's such a thing that it's like.
You're exactly how I felt like when I was watching the show.
I have no expectation on what it's going to be, and for that reason, it will be either great, meh. So those are the only two ways that I think it's going to end for me.
Yeah, I think that's how it is for some people. Like, I thought it was great. Some people are going to be like, meh. But I didn't know anyone else that's really watched the show. I just know that they like the show. They're like, yeah, I liked Wilfred.
You know what? You know what show this is going to be like to me? How I Met Your Mother.
Oh.
Because How I Met Your Mother, I loved How I Met Your Mother. Every single season, every single episode, I love it. Yeah, there's probably some problematic episodes. I haven't seen it in a long time.
Yeah.
But the one thing I do like is at the season finale, I know a lot of people were very upset with. Yeah. Because it's like this whole series was about him meeting the mom, and then they finish it that way, right? And I explained to people, I'm like, I like the finale of How I Met Your Mother because of one character, and that was Barney's character, where the whole series it's him chasing women, and then he finally he holds his daughter in his hand, and he breaks down and realizes that all he ever wanted was that. Like he was chasing around this like women, this idea of like, I want to sleep with all these women, but in the hindsight he was like, this is the perfect woman. I love her, and I'll never love someone else the same way I love this child. And it's like freaking amazing character growth. It builds throughout the whole season, and it's great and fantastic. And I'm like, that's the only reason why I like the How I Met Your Mother ending. Outside of like some small stuff like that, the overall ending I was kind of like for. But that single character ending I loved, and that's what I think could happen with Wilfred, where I'm like, the whole ending but Ryan's ending is what I was really there for, and I felt they stuck that. Or X character, if they stuck another character's ending, great, that's fantastic. The rest of the series, like, I could subjectively look at the series and say or depending on the ending of a character. Yeah. That's basically.
Yeah. And this season coming up is only 10 episodes. So they have to finish everything up in 10 episodes.
Only 10 episodes. And if it's like 8 episodes of just each episode being self-contained like it was this season, yeah, I'm like, ugh. Let's get this over with.
Yep. So yeah, so next week we will be finishing Wilfred.
Yep. Next week we will finish Wilfred, season 4. Wednesday, I believe, Austin, is when you do it. Okay, just checking, just making sure. Austin, thanks so much for joining me on this rant of Bros and Shows. I appreciate you. I appreciate all you did. I appreciate all the people who have joined us for tonight's stream. Thank you very much. And I hope you guys have a great day, and I hope to see you guys all next time.